In this video, I will share with you how I conceptually see the B2B generative AI stack and what it means in terms of opportunities for startups and investors. We can break down the generative AI stack into three main layers. At the bottom, you have the transformer layer, in which you find the companies and research labs that develop transformer models, like OpenAI, for example. In the middle, you have all the middleware / infrastructure / API tools that help machine learning and data engineers develop and manage their AI code, but also the tools which help the developers who have no knowledge in machine learning to implement it as a service in their product. On top, we have the application layer, in which we find the products used by the end users, like you and me. Let's start with the transformer layer. As I mentioned previously, you'll find in this layer the companies such as Google and the research labs such as OpenAI that develop transformer models from the ground up. The aim of these entities is first and foremost to create the best performing models and not necessarily to focus on the business cases. This is why, for example, many of the people working on this are researchers. The game for them is to create the most cutting-edge tech that will be adopted by startups and companies later. And since we are speaking about cutting-edge tech that does not focus on business cases, it means that these independent research labs need to raise a lot of money to operate. Recruiting top-notch researchers and developing / training these models is quite costly. For instance, the well-known OpenAI, which is behind GPT-3 and soon GPT-4, has raised more than $1 billion. Stability.ai, the company behind the open source project Stable Diffusion, has raised more than $100 million. Even a lesser known research lab such as Adept has raised more than $65 million. So the barriers to entry to be a top player in this layer are super high. But there is another types of players in this layer which are quite interesting. You have an increasing number of companies that develop transformer models with a narrower scope, often focusing on more specific use cases. It's the case of Salesforce, which has open sourced its transformer model called CodeGen, and which is dedicated to code generation and what we call program synthesis. Another example is ServiceNow, another public SaaS company, which is developing Tactis, a transformer model specialized in time series forecasting. These public SaaS companies don't have as much resources to dedicate to developing transformers as Google or OpenAI, but by focusing on models with a narrower scope and closer to their core business, they can nevertheless become meaningful contributors. The last type of companies we find in the transformer layers are the ones that don't create transformers from the ground up, but customize and train the existing ones on smaller datasets for specific use cases. Very small teams of dedicated engineers can do this work, and I think that we will see that happening in an increasing number of niches for very specific use cases. Let's move to the next layer. Here, you'll find all the middleware, infrastructure tools, and other APIs that enable developers to develop and productionize AI. Basically, the tools that enable developers to create and manage the AI code that will be implemented in their end product. In that perspective, I believe that we can distinguish between two types of tools. First, the MLOps tools, which are dedicated to machine learning developers and other data scientists, aka people who have knowledge about machine learning. And second, the tools dedicated to developers who are not specialized in machine learning. There are already plenty of resources covering MLOps tools, so I will not cover what already exists, but rather mention a trend I think will be interesting to follow and which is called prompt engineering. As we saw in the previous videos, most users interact with generative AI models through text prompts. You write what you want and the AI model will generate an output. But to generate the output you really want, you often need a lot of fine-tuning. You need to understand how the model works and what is important for him. And then you can get a useful output. And sometimes it's not that easy. This is why there's a growing field called prompt engineering, which is focused on understanding and optimizing text prompts. I mention this trend here because I believe that we'll see interesting new products emerge in this category in the coming months. The second interesting trend that I'll be paying attention to is the growing number of tools dedicated to developers who are not specialized in machine learning. Most of the products in the MLOps category are made for developers who are knowledgeable about machine learning, which is a minority of developers. What we see emerging here is a new breed of startups that democratize access to machine learning to any developer. A major challenge with the models in the transformer layer is that it takes time and knowledge to implement them in a product. Most are not really out of the box. This is why you have a growing number of startups like Gladia or Levity that enables developers to implement AIs thanks to APIs or no-code interfaces. They take care of all the challenges related to optimization, customization, and hosting so that a developer can integrate AI features through simple API calls or by drag and dropping elements on an interface to create workflows. I think that what will happen here is similar to what has happened with cloud hosting. AI will become accessible as a service for a low price thanks to many AI infrastructure APIs and tools. Let's finish with the application layer in which you'll find the products for the end users, like you and me. The way I see this layer is that we have two types of companies in here. First, businesses which are AI first, aka for which the AI component is the core value of their product, like copy.ai, jasper.ai, or Photoroom. Second, you have the businesses for which AI is a feature that comes in addition to their core product. And for these two categories of companies, you'll have two approaches. The full stack approach, where a company develops its transformer model, productionizes it, and sells it to the end user. It's the case, for example, of ask.ai, which is developing a B2B search engine to search internal knowledge and communication messages. The off-the-shelf approach, where developers will use the tools available in the middleware/infrastructure/API layer to build their AI-powered feature. In terms of trends, what I think we will see is an increasing number of full-stack AI-first companies emerge in specific verticals. I believe that for the horizontal categories, such as marketing, developer tools, or sales, it makes no sense to go full-stack because it will be hard from a tech point of view to build something significantly better than what the generalist models such as OpenAI provide. This is why I think that many low-hanging fruit use cases, such as AI-generated marketing copy, will be commoditized in terms of tech. But on the other hand, you have plenty of verticals and industries that won't be directly addressed by the generalist models. In this case, it makes sense for startups to be full stack and to develop their transformers based on specific configurations and to train them on specific data sets. For instance, we spoke a lot about LLMs, which are transformers designed for human languages, but transformers can be useful for plenty of other types of sequential data, like molecular data with transformer models built specifically for drug discovery, for example. And as a consequence, more verticalized full-stack AI startups will, in my opinion, emerge in the months and years to come. The second trend I see coming is the explosion of companies leveraging AI thanks to the off-the-shelf tools available in the layer below. You can expect an explosion of AI-powered features in the SaaS product that you already use in the next month and years.